Good. So we will wake him up again. And now you said, yeah, it's of course it's different from Leap. And so you need to have a closer look, of course, for the user interface. But what we tried is, or what the idea was behind the user interface, we wanted to bring closer together what the trainees see and do and what the instructors see and do. And that means, for example, if your trainees attach an ECG, you do the same manually, I would say, or in a virtual way. So if your trainees attach an ECG on Paul, you scroll over this bubble over Paul's chest. You have one icon for the capillary refill, and the others is with the electrodes. So you click on the ECG electrodes. You will see the electrodes in a 3D animation on the mannequin, or on the 3D animation of the mannequin, and you will have um, the ECG released on your vital screen. And at the same time, of course, on your vital screen in the training room. And this was again something for me super important because, as I said, I wanted to bring closer together what the trainees see and what the instructors see. So if you don't see as an instructor the ECG on your integrated screen here, you know that also your trainees don't see the ECG. Yeah, I think you know simulators where you can always see as an instructor the ECG, but that doesn't mean that it's released, that it's already displayed in the training room. And so our idea was to bring closer together what instructors and what trainees see. And the same is, of course, true for the saturation. So if your trainees place a saturation, you just click on the pulse oximetry icon here. You see the curve is released, and the same, of course, also on the vital screen in the training. And then we can have a look for the first sensor in Paul. So if I move Paul a little bit, I know never shake a baby, but if I shake Paul a little bit, you will see the artifacts on the vital screen. Yeah. So again, we put a lot of efforts and details. Yeah. Um, so um, the bubbles represent actions that are made during a scenario, but we can't detect. So for example, if your trainees place a vascular access, you just click on this venous vascular access icon, and you will see the 3D animation of the venous access on the screen. And by the way, all this information goes into the integrated debriefing system. So if your trainees start a scenario, then you will see that if I place again a venous access, you will see the venous access. Now you see that the venous access got a timestamp. And if your trainees now give a medication, they can click on the syringe and type in something easy, 10 milligram of caffeine, and type it in. And then all this information will appear in the integrated debriefing system. In our configuration at the moment, there is no audio video system integrated, but you can, as I said, you can extract the Excel files and also as a PDF of this list. Yeah, that's possible. In the future, if we work together with SimCapture, of course, it makes a lot of sense to integrate both into each other. Yeah. Yeah, as I said, these icons or these bubbles represent actions that are possible in this area. And maybe I think we don't have to walk through every bubble, but for example, if you have the upper arm, you see there is the blood pressure cuff. If your trainees place an arterial line, you can click on this arterial line, and by the way, this curve will automatically add it, so you don't have to pre-configure a monitor, and I think that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, because it's in reality, the nurses just put in a module and they have a new curve. And so you just add the curves gets added to the vital screen as they are needed. Yeah. These yellow bubbles represent the pulses. So Paul has pulses on all four extremities and in the umbilical cord. And if you want to simulate, for example, coarctation, you just can turn off the femoral pulses. And if they are red, you know, okay, they are turned off now. And if they are yellow, they are working again. Yeah. The umbilical pulse may be important. It's not in the umbilical cord, but it's under the skin. So if you just palpate the pulse like this, so you will feel the pulse under the skin with your thumb. Yeah? Good. Now to the more interesting things, the sensors, because the sensors are really cool in PAL, and they are definitely a USP you need to highlight during your presentations for customers. So we will start, I think we will start with the sensor for intubation. So we have a sensor, and I just stopped his spontaneous breathing for a second because it's not so nice to be intubated while spontaneously breathing. So if we intubate PAL, and I will switch again to the video laryngoscope. You see now the video laryngoscope and the user interface at the same time. And if you intubate or if your customers intubate PAL, yeah, of course, they will see the tube going into the trachea on the video laryngoscope, but they will also see it on the screen of the user interface. Yeah, so what you saw is that, or what you see, I just switched the view again. You see on the 3D animation that PAL is intubated. For US PALs, it's always oral intubation. You can change this in the settings to nasal intubation, and then you have a nasal tube. But we can't detect if it's done nasally or orally. That was just too small, this area. Yeah. And what you also recognize is that I was a little bit too excited about my intubation, so I ended up in the right main stem. That means that the left lung collapses automatically. And if your trainees now ventilate PAL, what they will see is that it just, I don't know if you can see this very well, so I switch again, maybe then you can see it a little bit better. So it's just the right chest that's moving and the left chest is moving. Yeah, and hopefully somebody in the team will recognize that the tube is the problem, will pull the tube back a little bit, left lung reinflates automatically, and if they now ventilate PAL, they will see that it's again, that both chests move again. And what you see on the user interface, what we measure in real time peak pressures, PEEP, ventilatory rates, and tidal volumes. So that instructors always see the current, especially the tidal volume. So if your trainees give too much pressure and give too much tidal volume, they will see that this bar here is getting red. So we can measure the tidal volume exactly on 0.1 milliliters, because 0.5 milliliters make a difference in a 1 kilo baby. And so you always know what your trainees are doing. Yeah. If they use a Neopuff system, they will see a Neopuff. And maybe I can try to trick PAL a little bit with my bag here. I don't know if this will work. If I try to create a little bit a peep, this will not work with this bag. Let me see, maybe. Yeah. So I tricked him a little bit because I tried to create it a peep. So if your team uses a Neopuff system, they will see a Neopuff on the 3D animation. Yeah.
Jens, I had a
Yeah.
quick question on the
Yes.
Neopuff. Is that what you were mentioning before about the 21% um the room air? Would that be through Neopuff or that's just
No,
ventilation?
it's both. It's true for both.
Okay.
So because you would connect the Neopuff or the bag to a
Yeah.
oxygen blender, and
Mm-hmm.
then you can increase, of course, the oxygen for both devices.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
It just
Yeah.
a Neopuff system is just a very. Have you ever seen a Neopuff system doing? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because in the US, I don't know, in the US and in Canada, you also use flow inflating bags a lot. So I think the Neopuff system is not so common more and more the last years, I believe. But a lot
Mm-hmm.
of, especially because RTs are doing the ventilations and intubations, they prefer to use this flow inflating bags. For
Mm-hmm.
us in Europe, it would be far too difficult. We can't use these kind of devices. If I would love them, but I would believe because we are not experienced at all with that, and so it would not work in Europe. but we can't distinguish between a flow inflating bag and a neopuff system. That's not possible.
Okay.
Yeah. So so it will be both displayed as a neopuff. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Mariam, you wanted to say something?
I was just thinking that the flow inflated one, we use it as a backup if for whatever reason the neopuff didn't work.
Okay.
Everybody was expected to be able to use the flow inflated one, but that was in the hospital, and then out of the hospital they would also use the bag inflated or the self-inflated one.
Self-inflating bag.
Yeah.
And it depends where you are, because in Europe, for example, our backup would be the self-inflating bag, even in the hospital, because we have no flow inflating bags. We just don't have them, and that's the reason why I didn't want to be rude, Alyssa, when I ask you, have you seen this? Because sometimes, and that's what I learned, sometimes there are regions they just don't have it. What's for me totally normal, and they just say, you use this in these situations. That's so I learned a lot the last years that you can't take anything for granted, because there are so many differences, and this also we need to keep this in mind when we develop simulators, because sometimes things just don't work in different regions. No, but I'm sorry, Maria.
Can I ask 2 questions?
Yes, of course.
One is, what if they have different ECG leads? Like if they have more than just the 3?
More than the 3?
Because you have 3 leads here.
Yeah.
What if they want to attach more?
Is this something, and again I learn, is this something that's done in neonatologies in different countries?
I'm just wondering, I've seen like 3, 4, and I know you can do more, but I'm not sure exactly for this age group, but I'm just wondering if they put it in, let's say their hospital has a different protocol and they have more, it won't display, it'll just show up the 3.
And to be honest, in this regard, because I worked a lot on ECG in neonates, I never came across that they use more than the only possibility would be used 4 at the extremities, but I've never seen this before. I'm not aware of that anybody uses it. And more than 4 don't make sense, because we don't want to have an ECG to display a heart attack or something like that.
That's what I'm thinking is the 4. Yeah, that's all.
And I'm not aware, but this would be this would be super interesting for me. If you really are aware where they use 4, I would be super interested how they use it, because I can't imagine it at the moment that this would be used. But as I said, sometimes it's different in different countries, because you need 1 more, and 3 are difficult enough to attach. And that's the reason why I'm so happy about your NeoBeat. We can't show you NeoBeat at the moment, but that's the cool thing with the NeoBeat, because 3 ECG leads in a dead baby are difficult enough. And so
Great. My other question was, okay, so what if they're doing delayed cord clamping, and they haven't cut the cord, but they're still resuscitating? So what is displayed? Because right now you said that you have to put in the cord, turn it, and then it shows that it's already been cut. It's already been clamped.
That's a super cool question. Thank you very much. I just will write down this new feature of our simulator. Thank you so much, Mariam.
I see this because the studies are being done right now, right? So that's what I'm thinking.
Because what we actually did a few weeks ago for a hospital day started with this Concord table. You know, this table where you can place the baby and take care of the baby?
Yes, and resuscitate everything. Yeah.
Exactly. And we just developed for them a longer cord. And we didn't think about, because I don't think that it's important for them, but it's a cool feature to integrate it, that you can also take the cord away manually in the software. I think for these kind of, and it's low-hanging fruits, I would say. It's not very difficult to do, and it's a nice feature. But they just used a longer cord, and they had no, because there is I don't know the English word for it. I don't know it. Because how we measure it is with a transistor, no, in German it would be resistance.
Resistor?
Is it resistor?
Well, what are you measuring?
The voltage or the I don't. You need to ask Michael. That's a question for Michael.
I'll ask
but we had nothing of this in the cord, and so the cord was just displayed as cut. And so they didn't care about that because they just wanted to have it for training. But it's a cool feature. We'll integrate that. Thank you so much.
Thinking, for Emily, at least when I practiced, it was pretty standard. We would just do delayed cord clamping. But I know that at least that first minute, it's more and more standard in at least in North America.
Let's wait and see.
Yeah.
I'm now also 20 years in business, and I have seen some things coming and going again, because at the moment there is the data for the not for the delayed cord clamping, but for the physiological cord clamping. So
where you wait till.
I'm not so sure if this is really the silver bullet. At the moment, the data is not very promising, but everybody's doing it, of course. But let's see. But we need to be prepared for that, definitely.
Yeah,
absolutely. But I would say at the moment this would be a minor detail, because it's just clamp or not. That's so. But it's nice to have it. So it will be included in the next software, I think. Yeah, cool. That was your second question.
Yeah, that was it. Go ahead.